Okay. And when can you apply this random forest algorithm? When we have independent tasks, so that we can build the trees parallelly. So then we can go for random forest algorithm. The disadvantage that we have in random forest algorithm is, if you wish to get more accuracy, we need to build more trees. Then what will happen is it will slow the process. Indirectly, it is time consuming. And it's very difficult to interpret the data as in decision tree. So in general, most of the people know about decision tree is also a supervised learning, which can be applied both for classification and regression again. So decision tree uses the tree representation to solve the problems in which the class will be in the leaves. So many applications are there for decision trees. It can be operation research. I will just admit some people. So the disadvantage that we could find in decision tree is, for a small change in data also, we need to again consider the tree, which is time consuming. So we have other mechanism in supervised learning called as support vector machine, where the strength of SVM is it can be again applied for classification and regression. The most advantage that we have is it can be applied for linear as well as non-linear problems. So the most of the people will apply what are the applications that are pertaining to SVM or face detection. How do you classify the images? We have many problems in bioinformatics that can be applied on SVM with a little data set. Like, what is the disease causing gene? How do you identify a gene? If you have 6 fingers in the hand, what is the reason for having that 6 fingers? And handwritten recognition, all these are the applications of SVM. But what is the disadvantage that you could find in SVM is, it is not suitable for large data sets. So, and also the data set has to be very clear. If the data set is noisy, then the accuracy levels will be very less. And the k-nearest algorithm is a general algorithm. It classifies based on the distance metric, like it store all the cases available and classifies based on the similarity measures. Similarity measures, it can go for distance learning or not. And again, this k-nearest neighborhood algorithm can be applied for both classification as well as regression. Most of the people will use this for economic forecasting, like how can you predict the gold price, the change of prices in petrol, something like that. Even people, we have many algorithms or areas where this k-nearest algorithm is used for data compression also. So in supervised algorithm, I said 2 strategies are there and different algorithms are there. Like linear regression is an algorithm, a random forest is a mechanism, like it's an algorithm. SVM is there, k-nearest algorithm is there, and decision trees are there. All these 5 are the most prominent algorithms that we could see in supervised learning. I'm just moving to the next slide. I said unsupervised learning, the challenge is the data is not labeled. We need to find out the inherent uh, uh, so we need to find out the similarities based on the inherent structure of the input. The only basic mechanism that we apply is we need to see high intra-similarity should be there and low inter-similarity should be there. And we have many examples like PCA, principal component analysis, is a small example of unsupervised learning, where PCA uses a statistical technique to find or examine the interrelation among a set of variables. It's very simple, and people use this PCA for facial recognition and computer vision and even for image compression also. So one of the most important algorithm that you could find in unsupervised learning is a K-means algorithm. It was the oldest algorithm, and still people use this K-means algorithm in various places, where the algorithm works on similarity measures. Like this algorithm identifies k number of centroid and then allocates the data set or data point to the nearest cluster. What are the advantages that you have in k-means is it can handle large data sets. When you have a small data set, particularly in bioinformatics, we go for SVM. When we have a large data set, generally we go for k-means algorithm. And many other applications are there, like what are the advantages basically is not only that large data sets, it can adapt to the new examples. The training phase is more prominent in k-means, but it's very, what is the difficulty that you get in k-means is it's very difficult to find the k value. And if you rescale the data sets, obviously the accuracy will change. And most of the people heard about this a priori algorithm in deep learning, not deep learning, data mining, where this a priori algorithm will try to find out the frequent item sets. In general, people talk about market basket application. This a priori algorithm is an unsupervised classifier. And we also have other technique called as hierarchical clustering mechanism in unsupervised learning. Most of the people will use this for biometric purpose. The advantage that we have in hierarchical clustering is the structure is more interactive and it can be self-explanatory. And the disadvantage that we have in hierarchical clustering is it cannot be applied for large data sets. And it's very sensitive towards the outliers. That is the reason in unsupervised learning, when my data set is more, generally people will go for k-means. When it is less, they will go for hierarchical clustering. The reason is the structures are more informative. Hierarchical clustering, the structure is more informative than k-means. So obviously the output is self-understood in this. So we have seen what exactly is a machine learning. And we have seen what are the techniques in machine learning, like supervised learning and unsupervised learning. We just try to take to other session, like why deep learning is needed when machine learning is there. That's what the point that I wish to mention. Like we have a question, like when I'm taking a webinar for people in Iraq, they ask me a small question. Just I'm trying to admit some people. Can we perform arithmetic operations on Arabic numericals faster? Just a minute, I will just disable this one also. So the question is, which is faster? Like when you apply arithmetic operations on Arabic numerals is faster, or Roman numerals is faster? The question is very simple, but the answer is something like this. If somebody want to perform an arithmetic operations on Roman numerals with respect to machine learning, it's very difficult. It will be more time consuming. But if you want to perform arithmetic operations on Arabic numerals, it's very easy. The reason is machine learning algorithm, it will vary based on the choice of representation of data. So the performance of machine learning, it depends upon the representation of data. What should I do if I have a representation like what we have in Roman numerals? Is the answer for this is a deep learning. The deep learning solves the central problem in representing the learning by introducing representations that are expressed in other simpler representation. That's what it is. So when the data is more, just we try to have a graph and then we could understand this better. When the data is more and the number of futures to design are more, then obviously the machine learning algorithms will go for a plateau. Like the performance of the machine learning algorithms will be like this. Just you have to see this. This is the performance of the machine learning algorithms. But when the data is more, the deep learning algorithms, the performance is more. That is the reason most of the people, when the data is huge, and when they try to have different features, like I try to ask you, I have given a 50 images and I try to ask you, can you find a potato and a car? It's very easy for a machine algorithm to find, because the features of the car are different and the features of this potato is different. But if I wish to make this query somewhat complex, I have given 1,000 images and ask you what type of potato is, what type of car it is. Then you need to find out the data is more, the number of features to identify the system is very difficult. So obviously when the data is more and the features are more, generally people will go for deep learning. Just a minute, I will just admit some people are waiting outside. Okay, and just disable this. So we have many applications of deep learning. You can use a deep learning both for unstructured as well as unlabeled data. You can use it for structured data as well as unstructured data. And deep learning can be used both for labeled as well as unlabeled data also. So since it has, based on the number of features, the number of layers will increase. You could see in the next slide that this is what it is. When the number of features increase, the number of hidden layers increases. That is the reason people will call it as deep learning. And there are many mechanisms on deep learning. We can talk about a single perceptron model where you have only single neuron. We have a multiple perceptron model, or what is that we call it as multiple layer perceptron model, where you have two hidden layers. The technique that we use it for multi-layer perceptron is a feed-forward network, but we have n number of applications for this multi-layer perceptron, like image recognition, speech recognition, machine translation, and e-commerce. Many applications are there in multi-layer perception, even though it has only two hidden layers. Most prominent mechanism that most of the people will use is RNN, recurrent neural network. When the data is in a sequence, and when you try to address data in the terms of time series data, then we try to go for recurrent neural network. The basic technique that was used is a back propagation technique. Just a minute, I'm admitting some again. So what does your RNN will do is it will have some internal memory to process the large inputs. And we have many applications of RNN, like how do you predict the variations of weather? How do you predict the variations of stock market? People are just waiting in. Just I'm trying to admit all. Okay. So many applications are there. So LSTM, long short-term memory, is an extension of RNN, where when the data is more and the number of features are more, still like you have many applications of stock market and LSTM, whether it is based on the closing price or any other parameter. So LSTM is an extension of RNN. And we have a mechanism called as a CNN. With the mechanism that we use in CNN is a feed-forward network. And most of the people use this CNN for image processing, image recognition, and NLP, pattern recognition, and medical image processing, and all the other areas which we can use this CNN. Because we have used a CNN, most of the people, like when we try to predict the diseases of crop, we have used a combination of CNN plus RNN. Now people are using a TNN, like we have a concept called as TNN, which will give you a more energy efficient system, which will be integrated with either CNN or RNN. So we have discussed about RNN, CNN, LSTM. We have a versatile technique called as GAN. We call it as a generative adversarial networks, where the technique that we use in JN, just a minute, just I'm trying to see the chart box. Okay. So in GAN, what is that we try to do is the technique that they have used is unsupervised structure. Most of the people will use this GAN in health diagnosis. Like if you wish to predict the ternary structure of a protein coding region, then they will go for GAN. And they try to identify a promoter in a GNA sequence, then people will go for GAN. And we have many applications of GAN in cybersecurity and natural language processing. Speech recognition is the most powerful applications of GEN. So generative adversarial networks, which are unsupervised structure, are having many applications. Even in video games also, people, they will go for these GANs. So RBM is a restricted Boltzmann machine. Generally, people will use it for recommendation systems and filtering system. And it can learn from the probability distribution of various inputs. And many applications are there, like future learning. Most of the people, they're talking about topic modeling now. So people are using RBM to address this problem of topic modeling. Even people in IIT also do, IIT Madras, they're doing in topic modeling by using RMM and variant methods. The last one that we have for today's discussion is a deep belief network, is also an unsupervised probability structure, which can be used for image processing and facial recognition. So the entire idea that I have for this today's discussion is, what exactly is artificial intelligence? What are the various mechanisms that we have in artificial intelligence? Then I try to address what exactly is machine learning. And then I started discussing about various strategies that you have in machine learning. And then I try to find out what are the applications of machine learning. And most emphasis that I have done is on applications of AI. What is ML? What are the applications? See, you have a SVM machine. When can you apply this SVM machine and when cannot? When can you apply k-means and when cannot you apply a k-means algorithm? So I said hierarchical clustering, when the data set is more, it's very difficult to get accuracy. But when the data sets are more, then go for k-means algorithm. When we try to address a nonlinear structure, go for SVM. So my interest is why we need machine learning, why we have gone for deep learning, what are the different techniques that we have in machine learning, deep learning, and when can you apply this LSTM, when can you go for RNN, when can you go for DBN. So that is my interest. So I'm not interested, because see, this is a general webinar. My textbook on deep learning is getting released by Pearson Education in the next month, most probably by 23rd of the next month, this textbook getting released. So based on this deep learning models, we have used deep learning models for various applications. Now the advancements of deep learning is TAN and many other applications. We could see many applications in a combination, like people are using with CNN and RNN and various combinations. And I have to thank all these people who have given me the opportunity to share my knowledge, particularly Dr. Hembindu Madam, the chairman of this Island Charitable Trust in Telangana as well as Andhra Pradesh. And if you have any questions, you can type in the chat box so that I will try to answer the queries. I have a question that AI is a part of automation, or both two or different things. We have some concept called as robotic process automation, where AI is an integral, automation is an integral part of artificial intelligence. Both are not different, both are same. Like you have a mechanism, people call it as RPA, robotic process automation, where we are trying to build a boat for everyone. So the answer is like by using RPA, you can have different types of robots for different types of information. So what is the difference between machine learning and AI? In general, what does your machine learning will do is, it will take the input and you have the output. What is that machine learning algorithm will try to do is, it will try to find a model which will fit this input and get the output. This is what the machine learning algorithm will do. Somebody privately, they are asking what are the disadvantage of machine learning. That's what I said. In machine learning algorithms will suffer with respect to a representation of data. Apart from that, when the data is more and when you have more features, then it's very difficult. When the data is more and the features are more, the machine algorithms will receive, we call it as a plateau. So when we need to have a more performance, we need to go for deep learning. This is what the answer is. When can you go for SVM and when can you go for K-means? SVM is a versatile classifier which is supervised, and SVM will be used when the data sets are less. K-means is a mechanism which is unsupervised, and also K-means can be used when your data set is more. That's what my answer is. People are asking questions privately, so this is what my answer. So still, if you have any questions, queries, you can just mail me. I will just try to respond to these mails because I have been doing this.
A nice informative session, sir. Dr. Kiran, sir. Kiran, sir.
Madam, please.
Yeah. There is most information about AI, and there is other parts like machine learning and deep learning also. So, which is very informative, and the feedback which was coming from the chat box, they are mentioned that from the participants. It is a very good informative session. So as well as we will organize a lot many sessions like this in future also. So if any participants, you have any queries, please come forward and raise your hands. So otherwise, sir have given you the mail ID for you to get back with the questions. Okay, I have given the attendance link in the chat box. Please fill the attendance. Once I have received all the attendance, and I'll provide you the feedback link and the certificates for this session. So if you have any queries, please mail me. And from the chat box, wonderful session from Rasul Mira and Dr. Aditya Bukhari. He is saying nice presentation, and some of them they have said that there is a good informative sessions. The feedback is like that. So we will organize some more events like this in future. Sir Kiran sir, is it okay for you to come forward again for the sessions?
Definitely, madam. It's a privilege actually to be part of this charity trust, and I will do more sessions, madam. Based on, we'll get into in-depth details of deep learning, cellular automata, that will have a more emphasis for participants also.
Okay, yes, sir. The participants they are saying like from Venkat Ratnam Garu and Stravani Kanduri, both are telling that there is a wonderful session and a good session. That is a feedback given from the chat box
Okay, madam.
from the participants, and some of them they are all telling that okay, every participants thanks all, thank you all for coming for this session and attending participating in this session. So if you have anything like beyond this like about the artificial intelligence, so please contact me, or otherwise talk with Kiran sir about this one. We will go ahead with all those things. Whatever the queries from your side, we will provide you the answers for that.
Okay, madam. Thank you very much, madam.
Thank you very much, sir, for the nice session and really like for coming this session. And the time is also over. So
Okay,
let
madam.
us be. We will go for exit. That means leave the meeting. And
Okay,
I have provided all. Thank you, sir. Thank you a lot, sir.
Thank you very
Kiran, sir.
much, madam. It's a privilege, actually. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, sir.